until like 9:30. So at that point, my body was telling me it's 3 in the morning. But that was a smart thing to do because then I slept. I had a really late night. I slept at 9:30. No, I go every year. My wife is the dean of students at the law school, and they have a mini semester that they have every year that runs from the middle of May to June.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the June 3rd, 2025 meeting of the Planning and Zoning Board. We'd rise for pledge allegiance in a moment of silence. Thank you.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Thank you. As you can see, Chairman Quish is not here. I'll be running tonight's meeting. Angelica, would you please give us a roll call?
Mr. Agnes,
Present.
Mr. Alling,
Present.
Mr. Anderson,
Present.
Mr. Hirsch,
Here.
Mr. Collegian,
Present.
Mr. Macchio is absent, Mr. Mortimer is excused, Mr. Sadi,
Present.
Mr. Zahardis,
Present.
Chairman Quish is absent.
Okay, so we have, David, we have no new business. Is that accurate? Although it doesn't vote by date.
We have public, we have new business that are public hearings. They're all public hearings tonight.
So we do have public hearings. The first one is 282 Quarry Road, closed by July 8th of 2025 and vote by September 11th of 2025. The first one is petition of Donna Goldsmith for a special permit to establish an indoor soccer/recreation use with separate office use at map 091, block 807, parcel 1, of which John Lavanos is the owner. If the applicant has come up and speak on this matter, please.
Hello.
If you could address the board, please tell us who you are and your address, and then we'll listen to you. Thank you.
Okay. Loren Goldsmith, 1332 New Haven Avenue, Milford.
Katie Goldsmith King, 22 Anderson Ave, Milford.
Okay, thanks for identifying yourselves, and tell us about the application, please.
Our plan of intended use is to turn this space into an indoor turf for individual trainings and small group clinics. Having young athletes, we've discovered the need for local indoor facilities. And our goal is to support our community and give athletes a quality space to continue to develop their skills year-round.
Okay, you don't have to say more. Is there anything else you want to add to the application?
I'm sorry?
Do you have anything else you want to add to the application at this point?
No.
Okay.
We're excited about it.
Thank you. Did any members of the board have any questions? Mr. Hirsch?
Good evening. What, if anything, is currently being used at this property?
Right now it's vacant.
Yeah, it's vacant right now. We just rented it for this, and for our other side of it is a office for Section 8 inspector company.
Any other questions by members of the board? Okay, this is a public hearing. That being said, does anybody wish to speak regarding this application? Again, I see people are in this public area, but nobody's coming up, rushing up here to speak on this matter. Is it okay if we close this public hearing, members of the board? It appears to be all assenting. Any motion we want to make on this particular application, please? Mr. Collegian.
With respect to 282 Quarry Road, I move to approve as presented the petition of Donna Goldsmith for a special permit to establish indoor soccer/recreation use with a separate office at map 091, block 807, parcel 1, of which John Lavanos is the owner.
I second.
Okay, any further discussion by members of the board? Looking down both sides, seeing none. Angelica, if you would take the roll call, please.
Mr. Agnes,
With the motion.
Mr. Atling,
With the motion.
Mr. Anderson,
With the motion.
Mr. Hirsch,
With the motion.
Mr. Collegian,
With the motion.
Mr. Sadi,
With the motion,
Mr. Zahardis,
With the motion.
so the motion carries. Good luck to you, and thank you for coming before us this evening.
Thank you so much.
The next matter is a public hearing, 708 Boston Post Road, Zone CDD1, petition of Attorney Lynch for a special exception, site plan, and re-subdivision of a child daycare facility at map 76, block 918, parcel 1 of which 708 Boston Post Road LLC is the owner. Good evening, Attorney Lynch. Before you do make your comments, you recognize that because of the excusals, we only have 7 members to vote, and it would require a 7 vote to pass your particular
I'm aware of
petition.
that. David made me aware of that, and I discussed it with my client, and he feels very confidently to bring this application to you tonight, so
We're
gonna
ready
move
to
forward.
listen to you then. Thank you
You
very
have
much.
to listen to me, I'm sorry. All right, so Mr. Chairman, just for the record, Thomas Lynch, I'm an attorney with the law firm Lynch, Trimbicki and Boynton, and my office is located here in Milford at 63 Cherry Street. And I'm here tonight with my client, Eric Spungen. Eric is the manager of Bailey Properties, LLC. His company is the contract purchaser of the easterly portion of the property located at 708 Boston Post Road. And we're bringing before you tonight 3 applications. It's an application for a special exception, application for site plan review, as well as a re-subdivision of the property to allow for the development of a 11,550 square foot building on site that will house a daycare facility / education center for children up to the age of kindergarten, known as the Learning Center. So I'll speak about the Learning Center in just a bit, but I also wanted to introduce the board to not only my client, but also Tim Kuhn from J.R. Russo Engineering Firm, who's going to go through the elements of the site plan with you. And also, we did have a traffic study done. Didn't feel that it was overly necessary, but we did go through to have a traffic study done, especially focusing on the parking availability on site. And Scott Hesketh of East Granby, our traffic engineer, is also here with me tonight. I'm going to just touch a few points from his report. It's on the website. It was submitted to you before the hearing. So rather than having Scott just reiterate what he's already submitted to you, he's available for any questions that you may have. So just by way of a little background, back in 2019, I appeared before this board representing Dr. Paul Soucy and Joseph Perrone, the principals of Milford Oral Surgeons. My clients purchased the property in 2019. It had previously been utilized as a car sales facility. The easterly portion where this development is going to go was the Starlander Beck building, if you recall that. So that we appeared before the board with similar applications for special exception for site plan review. There wasn't the necessity of a subdivision because that property consisted of 2 parcels. After the board approved the plans, the zoning office required that a lot consolidation map be filed on the land records so that the entire parcel would be encompassed on one survey. So part of what we're doing here tonight is sort of undoing that. We're asking for a re-subdivision of the property to divide the parcel into parcel A and parcel B. Parcel A will be the retained portion that Drs. Susi and Perone will keep their medical building, and Parcel B is the parcel that's the subject of tonight's application to you. So as I said, the development is going to be on the easterly side of the property. Under our zoning regulations, a daycare facility or a preschool is not either a permitted use or a special use under our regulations in the CDD1 zone. It's not a prohibited use either. So in a situation like that, the board's well familiar, you've seen the special exception applications we've brought to you before. When it's not specifically noted as a permitted use or a special use, nor prohibited, it requires a special exception application. The nuance on that is what Chairman Sadi just mentioned at the outset of the hearing. It does require the approval of a supermajority of the board, so 7 votes is required for the special exception application to be approved. Tim's going to go over the basics of the site plan. David does have it on the screen, but you can see what I was mentioning in terms of this is the layout is proposed. The existing medical office building is on the westerly portion of the property. With the division of the property, each parcel is going to be almost the same size. It's roughly 45,000 square feet for one parcel, 47,000 for the other. So it's basically a little bit over an acre in size for each parcel. So part of the contract between the doctors and Eric envisioned using the driveway access. There's access easements for both uses to utilize the driveway coming in off of Route 1. There's also a driveway that comes in off of West River Street, so that's shown on the plan. And then it shows the parking area, the building, and the playground area. So as I mentioned, the building itself is some 11,550 square feet in size. The playground area is approximately 5,000 square feet in size. The statement of use that we presented to you, Eric signed it and we sent it over back last week. It just touches base on the hours of operation, the number of students that will be on site, the proposed development for the Learning Center accommodates children ranging from 6 weeks to 6 years old. The facility is located in a 2-story building with a total of 11,550 square feet and the 5,000 square foot play center. The center is designed to accommodate up to 160 students or children with an expected average enrollment of approximately 80% accommodated based on nationwide trends. Of the enrolled children, an estimated 20% are expected to be siblings. The facility will employ 24 staff members, approximately 30% of whom will be part-time. The hours of operation will be Monday through Friday from 6:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. The center will be closed on weekends with the exception of occasional open house events as needed. The learning experience, there's a number of them here in Connecticut, and Eric actually operates a good number of these across the state. They're very well run and managed. They provide a really unique experience for young kids from basically birth, 6 months, infants, all the way up until kindergarten. So it's not your typical daycare center. It's a sort of a full range accommodation for young children within that age span. And as I said, it's a very unique facility, and they've been very successful in their other operations across the state. The plans were reviewed by all the city departments. You hopefully had the opportunity to review the documents that are on the website. Tim and I appeared before the Milford Inland Wetlands Agency because the rear northeasterly portion of the property is within the inland wetland review area. So after a public hearing, the Wetlands Agency did issue a permit for the development. The plans were reviewed by Tim Suden, our fire marshal. He had 2 or 3 comments with conditions which are noted on his report, and Mr. Sadi, obviously, any motion for an approval can be conditioned upon accommodating the conditions that the fire marshal put. He wanted to have fire lanes designated. I think he wanted an on-site fire hydrant in the event that the building is more than 300 feet away from an existing hydrant. I don't think he had the calculation for that. So if that's if that is the situation, then an additional hydrant would be required. But whatever conditions that he did note in his report, we're certainly willing to accommodate. The Police Commission, through Sergeant Craniac, who's now retired, I think this was probably the final review that he did for you. Dan Hemperly is now the new Traffic Division liaison to the Planning and Zoning Board. Jay did an extensive review of the traffic study that was submitted by Scott. It's on Route 1. The sight lines along that stretch of Route 1 are excellent. They exceed whatever the traffic highway standards are. Obviously, with its location on Route 1 and the intersection at West River Street, the analysis that both the Police Commission had done and Scott's traffic report found that the traffic flow that would be emanating from or coming onto this site could clearly be accommodated by the post road. Lastly, from Scott's report, there's 63 spaces between the parking lot that's on both of these parcels. Scott's analysis of observing the use at the doctor's office showed that on average, 22 spaces for the dentist's office were required by the Milford zoning regulations and not always utilized, but that is the number that's required under the Milford zoning regulations for the doctor's office. This use, based on employee drop-off and his analysis of other learning center sites, requires 39 spaces, and we have that. We have a total of 40 spaces, 36 which are located on the parcel B itself, and then 4 spaces that are part of a parking easement with the arrangement with the doctor's office. So I'm going to turn things over to Tim to let him go through the site plan, and obviously any questions you may have for either myself, he, or Scott, we can answer those at the conclusion of the presentation. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tim Kuhn. I'm a professional engineer with J.R. Russo and Associates out of East Windsor, Connecticut, and we prepared the site plans for this application. As Tom mentioned, the site is located...
Can you please announce your address?
1 Showham Road, East Windsor, Connecticut. Sorry. The site, as you know, is at 708 Boston Post Road. It is abutted to the west by West River Street, which is the left-hand side of the plan that you're looking at. To the north by Hunt Apartments and some vacant land off to the northeast. To the east by the City of Milford pump station, and to the south by Boston Post Road, and on the other side of the Boston Post Road there's a gas station and a motel. As shown on the plan, we are proposing a subdivision. The line, which, yes, runs right through the middle, and as Tom mentioned, it leaves about equal size of around an acre for each of the proposed parcels. There are 2 means of ingress and egress currently, one off of Boston Post Road and one out to West River Street, which will be maintained and accessible for both of the buildings and all of the parking in the future. And there will be cross easements not only for access but also for parking and utilities and drainage and whatnot. The proposed building, as Tom mentioned, is a 2-story, 11,550 square foot building. The playground, which is located to the north of the building, there we go, is 4,784 square feet. This will be a fenced-in playground with play equipment, and it'll be segregated for the different age groups as well. There will be a sidewalk, concrete sidewalk around the building, as well as up the edge of the parking lot, and this sidewalk will also be extended out to the existing sidewalk along Boston Post Road for a connection there as well. We are proposing 36 new parking spaces to go with the existing spaces there, and as Tom mentioned, between the two, we have, I believe, 63 spaces where there's 61 which we feel are required, which are the 21 for the dentist based on zoning, as well as the 40 for the learning experience. We are showing a proposed dumpster enclosure at the north end of the parking lot, and we have a detail on the plan for that as well. That'll be enclosed so that it's not visible. I mentioned the sidewalk. The building will be served by public water, public sewer, and natural gas, all currently available in the street. And in fact, there's some stubs that are still out there that we can connect to that were left from the prior building. There is a hydrant located directly in front of the building, I did make the fire marshal aware of that, and I believe he is satisfied now that we do not need to have an on-site hydrant, that we have satisfied that condition with the presence of the existing hydrant. The site will be served by an on-site stormwater management system, which will consist of a series of catch basins and piping to intercept the runoff from the building and the parking lot, the new sections of parking lot. There is an existing drainage system that serves the parking lot for the dentist office. That actually discharges into a subsurface, an existing subsurface infiltration system under the parking lot, which then overflows to an existing basin in the northeast corner of the site. Our new system will collect the runoff from our new areas of pavement and the building. It will divert it through a stormwater treatment unit prior to discharge to the basin up in the, actually we're going to discharge to a new surface basin that'll be north of the parking lot, and all that will overflow to an enlarged existing basin in the northeast corner. And then that again will overflow to where the current discharge is at the northeast corner of the site. The whole drainage system has been designed in accordance with the Connecticut stormwater quality guidelines and designed to ensure that there's no increase in peak discharge and that it provides required treatment and infiltration in accordance with the DEP guidance. In addition, this property is located, a portion of it is located within the 100-foot flood zone. Therefore, we have set the finished floor of the building above the required design elevation, and we are providing another purpose of these basins is to provide compensatory storage for where there is going to be fill within the 100-year flood zone. So where we fill in one area, we're going to excavate in the other area so that there's no net loss of flood storage in the flood zone. For site lighting, there will be a series of building-mounted lights as well as some poles in the around the parking lot. These will all be full cutoff LED fixtures, and the pole-mounted lights will be mounted at 14-foot high, which I believe is to match the existing lighting that's out there for the existing development. We are showing proposed landscaping. It will include the addition of some trees in and around the parking lot, as well as up along the frontage of Boston Post Road. And we will be relocating a series of evergreen trees which currently exist between the parcel and the northern property line. We're going to relocate those around our basin and along the northern property line, as well as along the eastern property line to provide some additional screening from the pump station. That's more screening for our benefit than for theirs. But there will also be a 6-foot high solid PVC fence installed along the northern property line as an additional means to buffer the residences to the north. If you want to switch to the architectural plan, Dave, the building, as I mentioned, is 2-story. It will have a brick knee wall at the base, And then it will have hardy plank, lap siding and trim. It's going to have a hip roof with asphalt shingles. And there will be a canopy at the entrance out to the parking lot. And as you can see, the colors, the brick will be a brick red, and then we will have a combination of beige with white trim. The building will be sprinkled. There is a sprinkler system, and there's also an elevator to get up to the second floor. And I think that pretty much covers what is being proposed on the site plan, and I'll turn it back over to Tom, but I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. Before you leave, is any members of the board to my left wish to ask any questions? Mr. Coombe, on the right. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, I believe that concludes our presentation. The one thing that I would mention, I said that all the city departments had approved the plans, reviewed them. I forgot to mention the city engineer, of course, and his report is in your packet. He had reviewed the plans prior to the submission of the Inland Wetlands Agency. There had been some changes with the retention area that he had requested, along with Mary Rose, the Palumbo, the wetlands administrator. But as to these plans submitted to you now with those revisions, he basically had nothing other than his usual standard comments. So I just wanted to make that part of the record too.
Thank you. Any questions by the members of the board to my left? To my right? I have some questions.
Yeah.
As we have before us, we have an issue regarding a re-subdivision. We have a site plan and then a special permit.
Yeah.
I didn't hear you address and would you please address the re-subdivision?
Yeah. So when the doctor's building was approved, part of the zoning office's requirement, since that was going to be under one title, even though there were two parcels, the zoning office required what's called a lot consolidation map. So Ron Wasmer did a lot consolidation map. In doing so, that combines the property into one parcel. So now, fast forward 6 years later, we're before you to parcel off the eastern portion of the property to sell it to Eric's company. So that requires an application for a re-subdivision.
And does that also get a different address on the Boston Post Road?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Should that be in any specific motion if we get there?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mr. Salkis.
No. For that, the answer to that's no. And also just a slight clarification as to the reason why the lots were combined. It's because the infrastructure for the original project, the doctor's office, when it was created, involved the entire parcel.
Exactly.
So that's why it had to be combined at that time. Now that they're going to subdivide it or re-subdivide it, they're going to have, as you heard from Tim Coons, they're going to have easement agreements, and between the two of them, they'll be maintaining all of that infrastructure that spans across both properties.
Correct. He
Thank you.
hit the nail on the head. Right.
So through, back to Mr. Salkis, if we could, please. Would you explain, do we have to have three specific motions, specific votes, starting with a subdivision? And could you give us a little bit of guidance on that? I don't think we've heard the term re-subdivision either sometime or ever.
You have, but that's okay. You can do them separately because they all have different requirements. Probably the most important one to do first would be the actual special exception, because without that, I mean, I don't know that the property owners would want, we wouldn't be able to do the other two without the board actually approving the use. And once you approve the use, then we can do the subdivision.
Right.
Or the other. And also, when given the opportunity, I want to read my administrative summary for this one.
I was waiting for that to come up, and if it's appropriate now, if you might read that report, please.
Sure. The applicant is proposing an 11,550 square foot daycare and early learning center with a 5,000 square foot outdoor play area. The use is not permitted nor prohibited in the CDD1, but is similar to other uses in the zone, which allows the applicant to apply for a special exception under 3.16.2.20. The property is located in the FEMA Special Flood Hazard Area, AE flood zone, base flood elevation 37.5 So the building is proposed to be constructed at an elevation of 39.8, which is slightly above the minimum required design flood elevation. The center is designed for up to 160 children and will employ 24 people, 30% of them on a part-time basis, as you heard earlier. Hours are from 6:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. The fire department requires for the site plan issues that the submitted plans be updated to provide a new fire hydrant, which may be required, and as we heard tonight, may not be, depending on the design of the building fire system. Turning radii is specified in the fire review. Let me start over. Turning radii is specified in the fire department review shall be identified to confirm fire department equipment access and egress. Other fire department issues involving the design of the building would be required to be addressed during the building permit phase of the project. The project site will be re-subdivided from the existing 708 Boston Post Road portion of the parcel. The applicant will be making a payment in lieu of providing open space in accordance with section 3.10.1 of the subdivision regulations.
Okay, thank you. And after hearing Mr. Sulkus' administrative summary, the further comments by Attorney Lynch, does any other members of the board wish to ask any questions at this time? Seeing no need at this point, this is a public hearing. So if anybody of the public wishes to come up and speak regarding this application in the three separate forms or altogether. Again, I see people in the public here. Nobody is rushing up to come up to the podium. It'd be fair to say that nobody wishes to address this at this point. Is there any reason we shouldn't close the public hearing to the members of the board? Appears to be an assent by everybody. So we'll close the public hearing. I'm sorry, you had a right to rebut. Nothing, but I figured, thank you. So the public hearing is now closed. Do we have any further comments board members wish to make regarding this matter? Seeing none, I'll listen to a motion, please.
I move to approve as presented the petition of Thomas Lynch Esquire for a special exception for a child care facility at map 76, block 918, parcel 1, of which 708 Boston Post Road LLC is the owner.
Second.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion. We have a second. Any further comment prior to the roll call? Seeing none, Angelica, if you would take the roll call. This is on the...
Mr. Chair?
I'm sorry, Mr. Sulkus, yes.
Do you want to include the fire department's report in there, as it may or may not apply by the time they apply for their permits? There were conditions.
We're talking about a motion regarding that?
Yes.
Mr. Agnese, would you take an amendment to your motion that they would comply with the fire department's, fire marshal's report April 28th of 2025?
Yeah, I'll accept that.
And would whoever seconded agree to that?
Agreed, second.
Okay, so any further comments? Okay, we take a vote on that now, please.
Mr. Agnese?
With the motion.
Mr. Alling?
With the motion.
Mr. Anderson?
With the motion.
Mr. Hirsch?
With the motion.
Mr. Collegian?
With the motion.
Mr. Sadi?
With the motion,
Mr. Zahardis?
With the motion.
so that passes even by a simple majority.
Yeah,
We now have a, so that is passed. We now have a second motion regarding the second area. Mr. Agnese, if you want to go forward, thank you.
I move to approve as presented petition of Thomas Lynch Esquire for a site plan for a child daycare facility at map 76, block 918, parcel 1, of which 708 Boston Post Road LLC is the owner.
Second.
Okay, we have a second, thank you. Just before we have a question, Mr. Sulkus, the 7-vote requirement would be on the re-subdivision or?
Now, that was on the special exception.
Okay.
So that passed, which allows you to go on to do the rest.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions by the members of the board? If you might take the roll call, please, Angelica.
Mr. Agnese?
With the motion.
Mr. Alling?
With the motion.
Mr. Anderson?
With the motion.
Mr. Hirsch?
With the motion.
Mr. Collegian?
With the motion.
Mr. Sadi?
With the motion?
Mr. Zahardis?
With the motion.
Thank you. That passes. And then we have the last motion. Mr. Agnese, if you might, please.
I move to approve as presented the petition of Thomas Lynch Esquire for a re-subdivision for a child daycare facility at map 76, block 918, parcel 1, of which 708 Boston Post Road LLC is the owner.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion or commentary? Seeing none, if you might take a roll call, please.
Mr. Agnes?
With the motion.
Mr. Alling?
With the motion.
Mr. Anderson?
With the motion.
Mr. Hirsch?
With the motion.
Mr. Collegian?
With the motion.
Mr. Sadi?
With the motion.
Mr. Zahardis?
With the motion.
So this is passed. Thank you very much, Attorney Lynch. And the last matter that we have on new business and public hearings is 50 Daniel Street, Zone MCDD, petition of Attorney Lynch for a special permit for an outdoor entertainment patio at map 54, block 399, parcel 6, of which Conine Associates LLC is the owner. And we'll listen to the applicant now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, for the record, Thomas Lynch. On this application, I'm here before you again tonight representing my clients, Richard and Philip Conine, the owners of the Stonebridge Restaurant. As the board recalls, back at your May 6th meeting, the board voted to amend Section 558 of our zoning regulations to allow cafe or restaurant permit holders in the MCD zone to come before this board with an application for a special permit to allow outdoor music entertainment. And that's what we're here for tonight. I was prepared to move directly into this application at our last meeting, but with discussions with David, it was determined it would be more appropriate to wait for the effective date of May 30th to pass before we brought this application to you. So I spoke a lot at the last meeting. I don't know how much I really need to repeat myself. This board heard many people come before you supporting the notion of having outdoor entertainment, outdoor music in the downtown zone. It's something that my client's been providing for the people of Milford and surrounding areas for nearly 30 years. Provides a lot of fun, a lot of family activity, music enjoyment, and this application addresses what, again, I said to you at the last meeting, the concern that was articulated to me or passed on to me from Mr. Fernandez's attorney last year was that the complaint was that the music was going too late. So what we did was we drafted a statement of use to you that sets forth the hours of operation that we're requesting, sets forth the days of operation that we're requesting, and I would ask that our permit be granted, this application be granted, that Stonebridge Restaurant be given a special permit to have music at the existing outdoor patio based on the hours and days that we set forth in our statement of use. So again, we talked a lot about this at the last meeting. I really don't know what more needs to be stated. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to address them, but the Conines have a strong contingent of customers, people in Milford who enjoy music, and they haven't been able to enjoy music for the last 6 months that a cease and desist order has been issued. So we'd like to go back to providing that entertainment to people downtown on a limited basis. So unless you have any questions, that's our presentation to you.
Thank you very much, Attorney Lynch. Any questions, Attorney, Mr. Hirsch?
Good evening, Attorney Lynch. Does the statement of use contain any language involving decibel levels?
No, it doesn't. And to be honest with you, Ethan, I think that's a slippery slope that I wouldn't want to see this board get into with regards to either permits or regulations. you know, Mr. Fernandez came before you at the last meeting with copies of the state noise regulations, all right? So let's get into that a little bit. So Milford doesn't have a noise ordinance, all right? So in situations where towns don't have noise ordinances, Section 22A69 of our state statutes addresses noise pollution. And that section of the statute is located in the Department of Environmental and Energy Protection section of our regulations. So when you have a situation where you have, and I, believe me, I did the research, okay? I think you would imagine I would, all right? So those regulations, and I don't know if you did, but those regulations prescribe 3 areas in a municipality. They're called noise zones, okay? I mean, this stuff gets almost ridiculous. They designate noise zones. They have Class A, which is residential, Class B, which is general business zones, which is what the MCDD would follow under, and then Class C, which is like industrial zones, where you'd have machine shops, where you'd have loud activity going on. And the statute is replete in talking about protecting that noise doesn't emanate from your noise zone to another noise zone. So in other words, that your noise doesn't go from, say, a Class B business area to a Class A residential area, okay? And they talk about decibel levels and 65 decibels and whatnot. And I got to be honest with you, number one, we don't have a noise ordinance. So it would be behoovant then to, and I'm not pointing to Mr. Fernandez as being the one who would do this, but any person who would be objecting to, say, noise at Stonebridge, if you think music is noise, okay, I don't buy that. But if you think that music is, quote, noise pollution, then he would have to file a complaint with the Commissioner of the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. It doesn't involve the city of Milford. It doesn't involve the Milford Planning and Zoning Board. The statute sets forth a scheme where DEP enforces it. So I'm sort of giving a long answer to your question, and I started my answer by saying that's a slippery slope. Are we going to have David Sulkus and Steve Harris run around with noise meters, like you know, Geiger counters, try to measure noise? I mean, it's ridiculous. So to answer your question, no, my statement of use does not mention decibel levels. What I'm asking the board to do is to issue a permit that's reasonable. And what makes it more reasonable than what the prior existing condition was is that we've cut back the hours. We've cut back the hours. The complaint was, oh, the bands are going to midnight, the DJs are going to midnight. We've cut them back. Cut them back to 9:30. So that's where I think we've made an effort to present a reasonable scheme of providing musical entertainment downtown. Does that answer your question?
My question was just whether or not it was a yes or no question.
I
whether or
get
not,
it.
And you give a very nice for the people in the audience as to your opinion, which I think is important.
Yeah, I think it's important because it addresses a point that Mr. Fernandez raised at the last meeting, and it doesn't apply to Milford. We don't have a noise ordinance. There are towns that have noise ordinances, and they do have noise narcs to run around and gauge noise meters. Milford doesn't have that. If someone wants to file a complaint with, actually, Eton, you love statutes. 22A 6974, the regulations under 22A 6974 talks about the qualified person from the Office of Noise Control will come down and see if this is noise pollution. Well, let the officer from the Office of Noise Pollution in Hartford determine if there's noise pollution in downtown Milford. I think it's ridiculous. Sorry, Bob. I know you wanted to ask me a question, but
That's not yet.
I was going.
Is there anybody down near Mr. Hirsch that wishes to ask any questions of Attorney Lynch, or do you want to follow up?
No, I just wanted to hear from the public.
Anybody on the right? Joe, Eileen, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. Attorney Lynch.
Yes.
The regulations that were voted on at the last time this was discussed require that we approve an application only if the tranquility of the surrounding area is not violated. And we had several neighbors from Governor's Ave, I think, come and say that with the music that had been playing before, that their tranquility was violated.
Okay.
And that we can have differences of opinion on what that means, but they felt that that was the case. And so I guess I would ask, how do you feel this addresses their concerns?
It does by limiting the hours of operation, as I said. And secondly, I thought that some of the comments were disingenuous. I'm sorry, that's my comment. I mean, I live near downtown. I hear the train. I hear, plenty of things going on downtown Milford that isn't the Sunday afternoon music at Stonebridge. It's part of living downtown. So that's my response to you.
Thank you.
I do have a couple of questions, and thank you very much for your presentation. You set forth bullet points for some hours, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, and then you have a definition of, quote, happy hour, any day but limited to acoustical music with no amplification. Is there a specific reason why you did not list an hour or hours of operation?
No, because I felt that making reference to it as being acoustic music, which is soft music, would be something that if they want to do on a regular basis, they could do so without hours of limitation. So that's the answer to your question. Now, if you or the board feels like you want to strike some of these things, that's your prerogative. But that's my answer to your question.
I understand that, thank you.
Okay.
And then we get to 5, which is the holiday, St. Patrick's Day, Memorial Day, and 4th of July, and the time frame was 1 to 9.
Right.
Could you just give us an explanation of why you proposed that, and we should be considering that, please?
Well, those are days when people are off. So the other days, like Thursdays, Fridays, people work, they get out of work at 5 o'clock, and if they want to go down and listen to a band from 5 to 9 o'clock, that's why those hours are set there. On the other ones, they're holidays, and I, again, know from experience that Stonebridge on holidays would have a band outside during the afternoon hours. So that's why I sat with Rich and Phil to come up with this list, and this is what they were requesting. Again, because those are holidays, people are off for the entire day, so they, instead of going out to dinner, they'll go out to lunch, and they want to hang out at the patio and listen to music.
Thank you. And lastly, the term occasional fundraising is not anywhere in our regulations, so it'd be something new we'd have to be putting into the special permit. Would you kind of explain that, your thinking, please? And I know that you're very good at explaining specific words, and give us a little bit more of the explanation, please.
Well, fundraisers, when I reference those were, they've had numerous political fundraisers. I won't mention names, but, the mayors, the past mayors, they've all, had fundraisers down at Stonebridge, and that tends to be the times when they do them, on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, rather than the weekend nights. So that's why I said Tuesday or Wednesday for fundraiser. And they would only be occasional, okay? That's why I said the occasional fundraiser. I mean, how many times a year does a mayor have a fundraiser running for office? I mean, once, twice?
But you would agree that the way that you've worded it, it doesn't have to be the political parties. It could be any of the entities in this community, the Elks, the Knights of Columbus, whatever it might be. It could be the duck races, things like that.
I'm just saying the typical fundraiser that I'm mentioning in the language in the statement of use is a political fundraiser, but they have other functions on the weekends that are designated activities or designated nights where they do raise funds. Phil had a cancel or delay the American Cancer Society fundraiser that they have every year because they didn't have their permit. So, you know, they're not just political, but the political ones tended to be scheduled on Wednesdays or Thursdays.
Okay, are there any other questions?
I'm sorry, Tuesdays or Wednesdays.
Okay, any other questions at this point? Mr. Hirsch?
Yeah, you omitted Oysterfest for one of the holidays.
Well, it's not a holiday.
Well, for some people in the city, it might be considered a holiday, or special event days.
I think that the hours that we have, Oyster Festival is always on Saturday, so, you know, I think the bands down at the Oyster Festival end at 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
So traditionally, the Rum Runners would play at Stonebridge at 5 o'clock. So we have Saturdays 5 to 9:30. Right? They don't have bands at Stonebridge during Oyster Fest. They don't want to conflict with the city function down the field. Oyster Fest Day, I should say.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Sulkus, you did an administrative summary for us a month ago. Do you have any specific comments regarding what has been presented, knowing that I think that listening to Attorney Lynch, we were referring to the record we had a month ago also when we changed the regulations. So if you have an administrative summary, if you could summarize it for us, please.
Well, it's not going to be anything you haven't heard. The application is for a special permit to allow outdoor entertainment at 50 Daniel Street. It's dependent upon whether the Planning and Zoning Board approves an application for the regulation change, which you did. If the regulation change is approved, it would be effective May 30th, which it was. The applicant is proposing to have live music, which can be amplified on the following schedule, and that's a schedule up on the board, and we heard, I think you actually walked the board through it. The new regulation as proposed does not specify any conditions within the regulations other than leaving any conditions of approval open to the discretion of the board. So my comment is that if you would like to give them a special permit, it's up to you at your discretion whether or not there should be any conditions. And the applicant is offering some conditions, so it's up to you whether or not those are fine, or if you want to modify them in any way, or change them, or do something else.
Thank you very much. Any other comments by the board at this point? Okay, this is a public hearing. If you do wish to speak regarding this application for a special permit, please come up to the podium, name and address before you start speaking, and try to keep the comments to about 3 minutes if we can, please.
Good evening, Board. Greg Harlett, 2 Anchorage Drive, Milford, Connecticut. First, I'd like to start Mr. Anderson, Mr. Collegian, Mr. Zaharides, who I know. Thank you and the whole board for your service and your continued service. Just a quick word to follow up on a lot of the comments.
Excuse me, can you please repeat your name and your
Greg
address?
Harlett, 2 Anchorage Drive, Milford. I would just like to further the comments that were made last month. My wife and I have been a long-time Gulf Street residents, and Rich's Restaurant has grown with us from the standpoint that it's sort of the heartbeat of downtown. And we view Stonebridge as one of the pillars of town that we're very proud to live in, a town that I served for quite some time in, and we just would like to continue that growth and continue that, and live music with the amended schedule that Attorney Lynch just proposed only supports that. So we're here, I'm here tonight to support this measure and support it to move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak and we're just taking everybody to come up and speak. So thank you, David. You can speak.
So I'm David Fernandez. I live at 13 River Street. Having adopted the change of zoning regulation regarding outdoor music, you now have the opportunity to set up the special permit application in a way that is satisfactory to all interests. I am sure that by now you are well aware of the disturbances the use that has existed has caused to the neighborhood and well beyond. You heard it from citizens and you heard it from business owners, and it was especially the case in the last 2 years. I don't know why I always look at you, sorry. I mentioned during the previous meeting that the previous regulations that were changed in their wording did reflect the Connecticut state regulation defining the threshold at which noise becomes public nuisance. I also provided reference from the EPA that the typical road band ranges at about 120 decibel, which is 16 times louder than the norm. 16 times louder than the norm. So I think it's quite appropriate and just to ask you to explore mitigating factor, since you are not in the ability to measure the sound level in an efficient way because of the absence of city noise ordinance, to explore mitigating factor in lieu of, to make sure that the noise level that leaves their property is properly reduced to acceptable level. As you can see, I'm not opposing it. I am making sure that all interests and everybody, my business included and the neighbors as well, are respected. That's all I'm asking for. I asked differently before because the regulations were different. I am not against them. I already mentioned it, and believe me, the crowd was not the easiest challenge to come against, and I don't disrespect, or I have respect for their attorney. There is three zones correct regarding noise ordinance is correct. There is 2 times in the day. There is, depending on if you use the state Connecticut or the EPA where it comes from, there is the nighttime and there's the daytime. The variation between each zone and each time of the day, I'm going to not exaggerate by saying it's no more than 10 decibel, accommodating for what happened during the day, what happened during the night, and the different zone. It's not when one zone noise goes to the other zone. I'm going to cite a case of a public nuisance case that occurred in Connecticut. It's Peck versus Rattlesnake. Peck versus Rattlesnake. Rattlesnake was a restaurant in Norwalk, South Norwalk. I used to live there. Someone bought a condominium above Rattlesnake. The music was, knowingly, the music was known and existing when they bought it. Nonetheless, the amount of pollution that came to that, the case was won by the plaintiff, the person that complained, basically. So it's not from zone to zone, it's even within an area that is allowed within the same building, to say that. Now, to go back at the mitigating factor, it can be done. It can be done quite simply and inexpensively. There are several aspects that can be addressed since you cannot or don't want to or don't think you are responsible or associating yourself with the excess of noise. It can be done by either taking into consideration 3 aspects. One is the location of the sound. Of course, right now they want to have it on the limit of the property, on the street side. If you assume, as an example, that they put it on the other side of the building would act as a block to that noise and wouldn't come towards neither my restaurant or the building or the people that live around. There is a projection or the orientation for which the noise is directed at. Of course, when there is a source of noise, it's going to travel all around like a stone throwing into the water will make wave, but the projection will be more important in one direction than in the other one. There is the distance. The distance exponentially reduces itself. If you have the capacity to move my building half a mile away, there will be less sound because it attenuates itself a little at a time. But that you can do. And the last thing that you can also do is put a physical barrier directly where the sun is coming from to prevent it from going to the other side of the barrier. So right now, as I repeat, the proposed location for the band and the DJ where it is exactly right now, does not address any of the issues that have been accumulated over years, that you have heard of, that you are aware of, and that brought us to be in that conflictual situation that didn't need to be in the first place. First, because the regulations were not the same, but now, as they are.
So, Mr. Fernandez, if we could, please, you've gone beyond your time. You have a chance to come back. Would you address, if you feel you can, address what is proposed by the applicant, hours of operation? If you could address that, please, and then we'll give you another chance to come back and speak, as either other people do want to speak here tonight.
Yes, the hours of operation, as they stand right now, are considerate for the tenants or the people that live in the area, if they do follow them. If they do follow them. They're not, without mitigating the sound, I can't have a fine dining restaurant patio, which is in the summer, sorry, people want to sit outside, cannot function with that level of sound. Again, I emphasize that I'm not against it, but the amount of sound that come out of the property, and they do mention it on the last line of their application, the amount of sound that come out of the property somewhat has to be kept down or mitigated or dampened or protected. That's my
Thank you.
my take. Can I read the conclusion?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
No, just because I don't want to be too long and it'll be adversarial, but, you know, it's also, in that light, I'm asking for that matter to be continued for 1 month or less if we find an agreement. And in that time, explore all available avenues which are equitable for everyone's interest. I think there are a lot of easy measures that can accomplish this. For me, it's a matter of design. I believe, if you know me, that I'm pretty good with design, but that doesn't prove anything. And it will not be expensive at all. And if you think of it, it started as a restaurant patio, then become a bar patio, and then it become a nightclub or entertainment venue patio. If it had been that from the start, maybe they would have designed it differently. I am not against the fact, I'm not projecting that they do it in a ill way. If they had seen from the start that's what they're going to do, they may have done it differently. So I am not against people dancing. I'm not. I'm just...
Could you just summarize? We'll give you a chance to come back and talk, please. Thank you.
And I was going to say, I'm not against people dancing and having fun and all that. I respect all that. I think it's great for the young people, honestly, and for the people that have something to do. But there is consequences for other people, and if you have a party, it shouldn't be the other one that suffer it. So I will conclude by saying, respectfully, that I would be happy to give my advice if I am asked for. And I hope you understand that. I'm not asking very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else wishes to come up and speak regarding this application? Again, name and address, please.
My name is Ron Lombard, 167 Cherry Street, Milford, Connecticut. I've been a resident of Milford since probably 1962. I've been a real estate broker for 37 years, licensed in Connecticut, New York, and Florida. And I grew up in Milford, basically, even though I was from Prospect, Connecticut originally. And I can tell you there's a whole bunch of things that come into play here. One of them is the state's ordinance for noise, which is kind of unique because they put the onus on the municipalities. And to be quite honest with you, I don't know how many people like wind chimes, but people never take the wind chimes off their porches or their deck. And if you live near the water with 30, 40 mile an hour winds, 24/7, you can hear those wind chimes blowing at about 98 decibels or more. I know I've had some neighbors that like to run their wind chimes. So in actuality, what you have here is you have a limit of time between music, which we all enjoy. Unfortunately, yes, it does project. I don't think it's as harmful as some people say. Can you hear it in Governor's Avenue? Yes, I'm sure you can. I heard fireworks too. We hear them all the time. So what are those decibel levels? I don't know. But, you know, in actuality, the thing is here, you have a time limit. This is a very good proposal to start basically taking together music and putting it in a certain time frame so that people could listen without disturbing businesses in the community, and so that people can enjoy music. And that's what the whole purpose of downtown Milford is actually to come to Milford, enjoy what we have. The Conines certainly have done that. There's other restaurants coming into play. So all the ordinances that was, the regulation that was approved about a month ago is actually a good thing for Milford. It gives people a time limit. The decibel level, sometimes you can't control it, but most live music is controlled by a person that registers the sound coming in from the speakers, from the microphones, the voice, so it's actually measured. It's not just thrown out there. So it's measured to a point where it sounds really good and so forth. If you're right on it, yeah, it's going to be loud. The further away you go, it diminishes. So all I have to say is that I think this is an excellent proposal because it does give us all an opportunity to have music and limiting the time frame in which to do so. So I thank you for your time here. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Bob Brown, 267 Melba Street. We all know the impact Stonebridge has on the community, and we all have seen the thousands of people who come into downtown Milford every Friday and Saturday night to see the positive things that happen in this town. Probably millions of dollars that have been invested by folks into the community. But I want to talk about the sound issue that keeps coming up. I work in event production. I do video, music, and audio all day long. You probably don't really hear the sound on Governor's Ave a whole mile away from Stonebridge with the speakers pointing in the opposite direction of Governor's Ave. But there are some practical things the city can do that shouldn't delay this permit, like planting more trees in downtown Milford if Governor's Ave is the area of concern. And I find it interesting that the only people who came up with audio concerns live on one street in one opposite direction. So if that's their concern, plant more trees in that area of Milford to block the sound, because Stonebridge isn't the only entity playing music in downtown Milford. We shouldn't get caught up on decibel levels and music levels that disrupt millions of dollars of economic development and economic impact. Milford is one of the only growing cities in the state of Connecticut. You see young people moving here all the time, and it's because they get exposed to the city through the nightlife and downtown restaurants like Stonebridge. And on the occasional fundraising, let's not get lost in that it's fundraising for nonprofits, for charities, for groups that benefit the community. Let's not regulate or limit the impact, the positive impact that Stonebridge has on our community and nonprofits every year. I've seen Stonebridge business shrink this year, likely in correlation because there has been no music. There has been no real driver for folks to come up here. Well, that's not going to have a long-term impact this year. If we do not approve their permit, there will be long-term effects where you see less young people wanting to move to this area and less young people building a family in this town. My family's had roots here since 1960. They certainly didn't move to Milford in 1960 for the restaurants. They moved here for the community, and Stonebridge's been a pillar of the community for 35 years. Let's just move on and give them what they need so they can keep investing in the city of Milford. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak regarding this particular matter?
Good evening. My name is Len Wisniewski, and I live at 596 Gulf Street. Now, I've known David Fernandez for many years, and I've known Rich Conine, the Conine family, for probably 50 years. You can debate the merits of their position back and forth, but I think one thing you should take into consideration is the entertainment value of the Stonebridge for the youth of Milford, the young people in the surrounding towns. It's a safe, reasonable place to go. And I know my kids went there, and I'm sure maybe many of your kids went there, and I think that's something you should consider for the surrounding towns and Milford for their youth. I just like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to come forward and speak during this public hearing? Again, okay, thank you.
Pauline Fernandez,
40 Lafayette Street, Milford. I was born in Milford, raised here. I have lived in the downtown area right next to Stonebridge. I've grown up listening to their music, falling asleep. And I've been working at my dad's restaurant for the past about 6 years. And yeah, there's definitely an effect that has been felt, especially on our Sundays. They used to be a very important and vital day at the restaurant, but not so much anymore, and that's evident because of the noise that you hear coming from our neighbors. But besides that, I think that it's important that Stonebridge is a very important part of Milford and our community, and I think there's no denying that. But I think it's also important to just highlight the other businesses and the other people that have put a lot of effort and time and energy into creating the downtown Milford Center. And yeah, I think it's important to just put forward amendments or certain conditions that value other aspects of the downtown Milford community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anybody else wish to speak regarding this particular application? Attorney Lynch, it's your turn up now to speak. Thank you. We may have some questions for you also.
Thank you. So just addressing both Mr. Fernandez and his daughter's comments, especially his daughter who just said that this has had a dilatory effect on their business lately, or their business is not what it was. Stonebridge has had music for 35 years. Stonebridge has had music before the Bistro Basque opened. So I'm just curious as to how, was there some different type of music that was being played at Stonebridge in the last 2 or 3 years that caused their business to fall off? So I don't understand, where that comment was coming from, because again, we have a 30-year history of music at Stonebridge. Bistro Basque opened afterwards, and now all of a sudden business has dropped off. I wonder if there's other conditions that are happening out in downtown Milford that's caused their business to drop off, because I don't see where there would be any evidence that recent music would cause that. So that's just my comment on that. And then secondly, again, going back to this thing about the state noise ordinances and noise pollution, our zoning regulations, I talked about how we don't have a noise ordinance. Well, our zoning regulations don't have any mention of noise conditions. In the industrial zone, if you put in an industrial building, there's no provision in there that says you have to limit the noise being produced by the building or the use at a certain level, because that's probably the most onerous type of use that we would have in the city as it relates to noise rather than music. And there's no mention in our zoning regulations at all limiting decibel levels in industrial zones. So if you don't have limitations in the industrial zone regulations as it relates to a use, I don't see how that really needs to be addressed as to music in the downtown zone. And then lastly, it calls to mind that the Fernandez's complain about the music at Stonebridge. Well, right next door is Cafe Atlantique, and Cafe Atlantique has music. They have amplified music on the weekends, and it's right across from the back alley where their supposed, rear patio is. So I don't understand how Stonebridge is the evil culprit, and right next door they have another restaurant who's playing music outside. I don't hear any complaint about that, all right? And then lastly, again, the overall issue here and why this was even brought to you last month and why we're back before you tonight, it's really come from one individual. So I ask you to just, use your common sense, use reason, see what the music on the patio at Stonebridge has provided for so many people here in Milford for so many years, and weigh that against the complaint that's been registered to the zoning office from one competing restaurant up the street. So, thank you.
No, we're not done yet.
Okay.
So, are there any other questions for Attorney Lynch by members of the board? I have some questions based on listening to the people both tonight and a month ago, and also listened to you speak. This appears to be, just because the first one we're getting, it's an application for, I think the term is an outdoor entertainment patio.
Correct.
And we don't have any definitions such in our regulations, do we?
No, in the prior regulation only referenced decks. So when I drafted this regulation, I included patios because I wanted it to be crystal clear that what was going on at Stonebridge would be covered by this amended regulation.
And some of us may be familiar with the layout at Stonebridge. I know you certainly are. You have your special seat. And
what'd you say? I have a special seat?
Your special seat, yes. Tom Lynch Memorial seat there. But the point is this, you know, let's assume get away from the hours and decibel levels.
Yeah.
Let's talk about location.
Right.
Could we, as a board, say that the location shall be along the Weepawaga River, farthest away from any other buildings? Or put it behind, as somebody suggested, put it behind in the parking area and requiring an outdoor patio out there?
That would hurt your parking count. I don't think David would be too happy with that. You know, all of the uses and all the restaurants, David Fernandez doesn't have a single parking space available to him, nor does Cafe Atlantique, nor does Archie Moore's. So in other words, Stonebridge, with the number of people that they do accommodate on site, the parking is de minimis. So if you then try to bifurcate an area of the parking lot for
I'm not asking you to
music.
bifurcate the parking lot. I'm saying that if we move it back behind the building along the river, there is land there that an outdoor patio could be built. That's not existent right now.
Yeah, and that would go against their existing liquor permit too.
Okay.
They have 6 bars on site, and the liquor permits are associated with the location of the bars. So that the entrance coming in off of Daniel Street, to the left there's a bar, and then there's the tent to the right. That area in the front has always been designated as the entertainment area by the Liquor Control Commission. So I think, to answer your question, it would be problematic to move it somewhere else because of the liquor permits.
Well, problematic if we move it towards the parking lot, but not problematic if we keep it as you're looking at the front of Stonebridge towards the river on the right behind the tent back there. You put it as far away from the road and you put it close to the river. That would be satisfying the outdoor entertainment patio, wouldn't it? And also
My client would prefer to have it where it is, but that's up to you to entertain the application and act on it accordingly.
Okay. Any other comments or questions?
Could I have just a minute to talk to
Yeah,
my
sure.
client?
There's a question from Commissioner Hirsch.
So the noise would go down to what? I get it. Right. Okay. All right, can I give you a little response to that question?
My question?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right. That would be a problem because that would really affect the neighbors going up Prospect in that area because the sound carries across the water, whether it's from the amplifiers, even if they're pointed out or not, the sound would go up the river. And I'm told from Nikki Wayne, who's our Director of Security Operations over at Stonebridge, that when SBC had their windows open and they had bands playing music and it went out, it created a lot of problems with neighbors up that Prospect Street area.
Thank you, and Commissioner Hirsch.
So the way, can I finish? All right. And to be honest with you, the way that the band is set up now, it's on the MCDD side of the property, for lack of a better term. In other words, if you remember at last month's meeting, I was talking about appropriate sites within the MCDD. David had talked about some property at the corner of Lafayette Street and Broad Street, located right adjacent to a residential neighborhood, and I use that as an example of a site where this board could very well determine that it's not appropriate to have a permit. So in other words, where Stonebridge is located and where the band is located, it's in the heart of the MCDD. We feel that it's far away from Gulf Street neighbors, Governor's Avenue, Maple Street, the Historic District. You know, it's as far away as you can get from those areas.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Anderson, sorry, Mr. Hirsch first, then Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, I just wanted to tag on to that, Mr. Chairman, that as you all know, I was an alderman for a number of years in the area. I used to get calls periodically about music and sound that emanated after certain hours that really affected the Prospect Street area, as has been acknowledged. But the source of that was never Stonebridge.
It was Daniel Street.
It came from another proprietor on Daniel Street that's no longer open.
They would open their windows and they would have
They would open their
bands.
windows, and that was the major issue. That's absolutely right. But perhaps, have there been sound barriers that have been considered, or some other form of sound containment? Because it seems to me that there was an issue that came up with a Stratford restaurant that had live music playing on their deck.
Joey C's.
You got it.
Right.
That affected residents.
And that carried right across the river into Devon.
That's correct. Right. And they did mitigate it. And there are a couple of other examples. They did put up some kind of barrier that would help.
Not to play devil's advocate, but I think that could be made part of a permit approval, a condition of a permit of approval, that noise, we could find out what those are and try to utilize that as best we can on site.
I would ask you to consult with your client and see whether that's possible.
The answer is yes, they would be willing to do that. And actually, Rich says he's looked into it.
Thank you for that response. Appreciate it.
And I know exactly what they are. They're the panels that are on tripods. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Hirsch, thank you.
Attorney Lynch, are these terms set in stone, or are they negotiable?
Well, I'll answer your question.
Yeah.
I mean, we're presenting them to you.
Yes.
It's up to you to decide whether you think that they're reasonable enough to approve. So it's not really negotiable. It's what do you find to be reasonable, and then you can say yay or nay to that. But
I only asked because you did consult with your client about a particular term or discussion. That's why I was asking.
Well, I think what Brian was talking about was making it a condition of an approval. So to answer you, the board can discuss, and if they say, no, we don't like this thing about fundraisers or happy hours, occasional happy hours, well then, yeah, get rid of it. We can live with that.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Mr. Lynch.
Yes.
This is an outdoor patio, correct?
It is.
How many months of the year are you guys outside?
Not a lot. We're talking from like May till the end of September.
So that's 6 months?
Less, May, June,
So we're
July,
not
August,
talking about the whole year
September.
here?
Yeah.
Couple other questions. Have you had any, I look at this statement of use and it said it was one neighboring business owner that made the complaint that caused this. Prior to that, were there any neighbor resident complaints?
None.
Okay. Prior to...
The only reason we're here is because a complaint was filed by one individual with the zoning office, and if you remember last month, I used the word hounded. My wife chastised me for using that word, but I said that, that they were hounded by this one individual, and as a result of that, a cease and desist was ordered. So to answer your question, no other complaints.
And follow up to that, prior to that, did you have any limitations on the hours of music?
I think on their own, they limited it to midnight.
But these limitations here are kind of helping to mitigate the problem a little bit.
That was my initial presentation to you.
So
that
you are working with this business owner.
Again, and not to repeat myself, but I had the discussion with Brian Stone, who at the time was Mr. Fernandez's attorney. He's the one who communicated with the city attorney and said that he was going to file a legal action that's known as a writ of mandamus. A writ of mandamus is a Latin term, but it's a legal action that's brought in court to compel a city official to do his job. So a legal action to force David Sulkus or Stephen Harris to issue a cease and desist was threatened, and that's when we started all of this. And the discussion that I had last summer with Mr. Stone, he said to me, he didn't say anything about decibels, he didn't say anything about noise levels, he didn't say anything other than the music is going too late and David's tenants are complaining. And we drafted this statement of use with proposed times to address that complaint. All the other stuff that's come out now over the last month, okay, you know.
There were no complaints about tranquility from residents?
No.
On Governor's Avenue?
No, as a matter of fact, you know, I'm not going to offer hearsay into a public hearing, but Mr. Fernandez's own tenants were he was trying to get them to come down here to speak against this, and they were telling Richie that they told him no, they weren't going to come down. We've now had 2 public hearings. I haven't seen a single tenant of Mr. Fernandez's building here complaining that the noise bothers them, that they can't sleep. It's ridiculous.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Mr. Sulkus.
The question about complaints and enforcement should actually be addressed by staff and not the applicant, because the applicant doesn't know what complaints have come into our office or not into our office. And I will tell you, over 21 years, we have gotten complaints. What has occurred over that time, when we would get a complaint, is we would call Mr. Conine and say, hey, we got this complaint. At this particular time, this particular day, can you not be playing music or turn it down? And he would. And that complaint would go away. That's how we would enforce it. And that enforcement worked for the last 21 years.
And I appreciate David's
Apologize,
comment.
David.
I appreciate David's comment, but I will say that there's nothing in the zoning file to reflect that. There's no letters to the zoning office that I found in the zoning file. So there may have been calls or complaints, but I found no written complaints in the zoning file.
That is correct, because people would call us and we would just, hey, Richie, can you knock it off? Okay.
All right.
And that was it.
So I stand corrected or my comment is amended accordingly.
Thank you. And then, Mark, are you done? I'm sorry. Dave, there was a discussion about some of the definitions. It's in a different section of the regulations.
Definitions of what?
Noise or anything.
So, Mr. Lynch made a comment that there is nothing in the regulations about noise anywhere, which isn't accurate. We do have a section called Performance Standards, Section 5.11, which applies to every zone in the city and goes into general things about activities, no matter what the activities are in those, for those properties. And it gets into things like no building or use shall create any dangerous, injurious, noxious, or otherwise detrimental condition that adversely affects public health, safety, welfare, or the neighborhood or community. All general. There's no specific things, and then it goes into, other things that it also includes, fly ash, and, so it could be, it goes into noise, it goes into fly ash, it goes into explosion things, it goes into glare. So basically, all these sort of general things that could be found in any zone for any use, depending on the situation, the board could take that into consideration when those particular uses are coming before you for an approval.
Thank you. Do you have anything else to say at this point?
I wanted to just respond to that.
Absolutely.
So the intent of my response to the question about, or the intent of my statement about no mention of noise related to decibel levels. I was talking about there's no mention in any of the other zone regulations as it relates to specific zones as to limiting decibel levels. I mean, what David's talking about, the performance standards, that's the general thing that says the general harmony of the community should not be inflicted. Nothing obnoxious should, no use should be so obnoxious that it inflicts upon the serenity of the area. I don't think that really relates to a musical band. So that's...
Thank you. At this point, we've not closed the hearings. Anybody wish to speak and address this at any other time? Mr. Fernandez, you raised your hand. Do you want to come up and speak? And try to make it short, please. I appreciate your earlier comments.
Yes, thank you. Like I said the last time, to answer about the noise, the way the old regulation used the reference of what 60 decibel is, which is conversation level, and they also have the speaker in the back that cannot be exceeding that level of conversation, which is 60. Because they couldn't measure the sound level with a machine, they used the example that the EPA uses to define what's the margin. So it's an allegory, a reference, or whatever you want, but that's how I describe. Look, I don't want to be adversarial with Stonebridge. I appreciate, and I said it in the hardest condition the last time, I appreciate what they do. What I expect you to do is to find an happy medium, a good compromise, and a solution. You said last time it cannot be all or nothing, we're going to have music. So say the same thing, it doesn't have to be all or nothing this time, and we find mitigating solution like adults would do to find a path forward. I don't like the characterization, and I thank David for correcting that, because I didn't do that. And I'm going to be respectful to the party and not say what I was told by the Planning and Zoning Enforcement Officer regarding what he experienced. I leave it there. But this is not right. We leave it there. Again, we can find a solution. They can have music. They have to be respectful of the other people that live around, and not just the people on the other side, as if my side doesn't count. Because it makes me feel, and I don't look at social media, but I'm not a native, and all this kind of garbage that was promoted just to have a party at my expenses the last time.
Mr.
So
Fernandez.
I don't want to go there.
Yeah, please.
Again, we can find an happy medium between adults, just so it's not all or nothing one way, it's not all or nothing the other way. We can find mitigating solution. I know they are anxious to get their business going and the activity, and I respect that. But likewise, we can make it happen quickly.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to speak on this particular application? I see there's public members here. Nobody's approaching. David?
I just want to say one thing.
Okay. Very briefly, please.
I didn't ask my daughter to talk. I told her to say that. And she is her own person. That's the way I want to raise my children, to have their own individuality and speak for themselves. So I didn't ask her to speak, just so you know.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lynch, is there anything you wish to say at this point? Which, let's try to keep it away from the words of ridiculous and personal animosities. Let's use our
That's
legal
fine.
terms to help get to the point of finding an answer to this particular
No, I
issue
appreciate
tonight.
it. That's a great comment. So I won't use ridiculous or anything like that. I'll use one word, compromise. That's the word that Mr. Fernandez just said, and that's what we did. We came here tonight with a compromise. We came to you seeking a permit with reasonable hours of operation, and that's our compromise. Thanks.
Thank you very much. So, members of the board, if we want to make any comments at this particular point, we can. We're still in the hearing. It's not been closed. And Brian?
My comment is let's close the public hearing.
Okay. Anybody else against that? So taking that under advisement, looks like everyone wants to close the public hearing. Now, that being said, the public hearing is closed at this point. I was going to ask Brian if he could fashion for us a motion, if he feels appropriate, and then we can have comments if there's a motion in a second. Thank you.
I move to approve with the following conditions the petition of Thomas Lynch Esquire for a special permit for an outdoor entertainment patio at map 54, block 399, parcel 6, of which Conine Associates LLC is the owner. The conditions that I would ask to be imposed are the following. So conditions of approval would be the music may be amplified on the following schedule: Thursday and Friday from 5 p.m. to 9:30 p.m., Saturday 1 p.m. to 9:30 p.m., Sunday 1 p.m. to 8 p.m., 4, happy hour any day but limited to acoustical music with no amplification. Holidays, St. Patrick's Day, 1 o'clock, 1 p.m. to 9 p.m., Memorial Day, 1 p.m. to 9 p.m., July 4th, 1 p.m. to 9 p.m., and the occasional fundraising events that would be scheduled on weekdays between 5 p.m. and 8 p.m.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mark? Or was it Joe?
Second.
Mark did the second. Okay. Any comments by members of the board?
Yes, Chair. I'd like there to be language that addresses the sound barrier issue. Mr. Solkis, would you happen to have some language to offer?
I mean, at this point, we don't know what that would entail. So if you were to have a motion, it would have to be sort of general, and obviously as a condition of approval, it would be something like the applicant shall pursue some structural sound mitigation and demonstrate that it would be, I don't know if we would need an acoustical engineer. I mean, I really, but you could say it would have to be an acoustical barrier that is signed off by a sound engineer that would limit the amount of sound leaving the property. And, if they can demonstrate that, and I don't know how, again, this is all off the top of my head, if they can design something so they can have the area where they want to do their performance, and at the same time have some sort of sound mitigation barriers that have been designed by an acoustical engineer and signed off and stamped by an acoustical engineer. That's something that would guarantee some sort of a mitigation level. Then we could, be able to give them a permit.
So if I could, at this point, Mr. Anderson, did you get a question answered?
I do, and I would like to offer an amendment if I can, or a condition.
Okay. Mr. Collegian, could you?
Yeah, if you don't mind, let me amend it first. Let me try to amend it. So I propose the following amendment to my motion. that the applicant will explore reasonable structural sound mitigation barriers.
And Mrs. Arides, would that second still stand with this amendment now?
Second that.
Okay. So,
There was a word that Mr. Sulkus used that I think would be appropriate, and that is measurable.
well, that's
I'm
fine.
not going to add that to my amendment because I don't understand it. And I don't think you can define it, and I don't think you can enforce it.
Could you repeat the amendment, Mr. Collegian?
The applicant will explore reasonable structural sound mitigation barriers.
Okay, thank you. And then, Mr. Hirsch, did you have comments you want to make on this?
Yeah, I have a comment. I will be voting against this special permit with the language used by Mr. Collegian. I have a problem with the Thursday being a date for the live music or DJs. And I have a significant issue with occasional fundraising because that, essentially anything could be a fundraiser. You can say somebody's birthday is a fundraiser. You could have, every day could be a fundraiser to some extent, or classified as such on Facebook or other medium, which nothing would prevent this or any other business from using that language to have 365 days of live music and DJs in the MCDT2 zone.
Thank you, Mr. Hirsch. Anybody else wish to make a comment? I wish to make some comments. It's always tough when you have two well-operating and well-renowned establishments in their municipality, a city. We have probably one of the lawyers that appears most before us, Attorney Lynch, over the course of time. And we did talk about the use of the word ridiculous. Didn't think you need to hear that, but that's a decibel measuring thing that we'll deal with at a different time. We don't have any way of finding that out. And really what we're talking about is we've got neighbors that are trying to have their business perform in a manner that's appropriate by also helping out the neighbors that might feel that they don't want to be in that particular location, but they have to deal with the noise. And that's one of the most difficult things we have as a vibrant community. I am in favor of the motion that was made by Brian. I am in favor of his amendment to that motion. And I am also very cognizant of the fact that both principals are here today. We've not heard from Mr. Conine. We have a counsel that speaks on his behalf. But it is clear that they are principled individuals, principal owners of wonderful businesses downtown that want to make it work for everybody. And I'm very pleased that tonight it wasn't as crazy as it was a month ago. People like music, but they also like to have a downtown that is pleasant and quiet at the appropriate times. The other thing that I do want to talk about is that we have to look at this as a special permit, but it is the first time we may be dealing with this, and there's no reason why it may not come up at a later point. So I think that we had to craft it in a manner that is easy to be enforced without a lot of words that are not defined. I think, and I comment and I appreciate the work you did, Attorney Lynch, but also I want to comment and appreciate the work that Brian did on this particular matter. So I'll be voting in favor of this particular motion. Does anybody wish to make any other comments? At this point, will we do a roll call at this point? Angelica, please.
Mr. Agnes,
With the motion.
Mr. Alling,
With the motion.
Mr. Anderson,
With a motion.
Mr. Hirsch,
Against the motion.
Mr. Collegian,
With the motion.
Mr. Sadi,
With the motion.
Mr. Zahardis.
With the motion.
So this motion passes. Good luck. And I expect that we'll have the decency that we've been showing in this room, and we know that as business owners, we want to make sure that Milford is better by their ways that they work and the good things they've done for the community. Thank both everybody, and thank everybody for coming here tonight. Okay. So we have no old business, I have no liaison reports. Subcommittee reports, we don't have to deal with those, but there's going to be a motion to approve minutes regarding the May 28, 25, which we'll get to in a second. Motion to approve the minutes of both May 20th of 25 and May 28th of 25.
So moved.
Brian Anderson, do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Agnese, all in favor by voice vote, say aye. Everybody says aye. No nays. Any abstentions? Okay. So, chair's report. Chair's not here, so we don't have to listen to the chairgiver report. Report by David, if there is one.
None this evening, thank you.
Thank you. So we'll make a motion to adjourn. Joe Elling, is that the motion you're making? To adjourn?
Second.
No, you're making the motion to adjourn.
Sure. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. We're adjourned. Thank you very much.